What's up, YouTube? This is another episode of Sports News. I'm your host, Kyle Alexander, and feels good to be back. Now, I haven't uploaded since my last mock draft because I just recently got a new camera, and I've been trying to figure out how to use that, and how to use the software, the editing software on my computer. But I can't figure that. But I'm still trying to figure that out right now. It's like when I put the video in, I just get audio and I don't get the actual video. So until I can figure out how to work that, I'm gonna just go on my phone from now on. And a lot has happened, like the actual NFL draft. Sorry for you Giants fans, but I knew Daniel Jones was going at 6 because we saw the same thing happen last year with the Browns. Everybody was like the Browns either going to take Saquon or Sam Darnold. Most likely Sam Darnold with the first overall pick. Then, literally a day before the draft, a report comes out saying Browns plan on taking Baker Mayfield number 1. Or there were reports about the Baker Mayfield going number 1 to the Browns. Everybody was like, oh, I don't know. I still had Sam Darnold going to the Browns first overall. And what happened? Boom. Number 1 overall pick, Baker Mayfield. So, the same thing happened with the Giants. They said Giants plan on taking Daniel Jones. So I was like, all right, they're going with Daniel Jones at 6. When if honestly, I feel like they could have gotten Josh Allen, but I mean, like they could have gotten Josh Allen and then Jones later, or honestly, they could have gotten Jones then and take instead of Christian Wilkins, take Montez Sweat because they still need a edge. They still need an edge rusher after the Olivier Vernon trade, and Christian Wilkins isn't a pass rusher. He's a run stopper, or was it Christian? No, it was Dexter Lawrence. I don't. It was one of the Clemson guys. I always get those two mixed up. But yeah. Anyway, and good draft from the Ravens and the Eagles, and also NBA Finals. Raptors are up 3-2. Kyle Lowry almost had the final shot, but Draymond was able to get his hand on it. And also, it was sad what happened to Kevin Durant. You know, but I mean, at the same, I feel like he went back too early. So a lot of people are blaming Golden State. But at the same time, Kevin Durant wanted to play because he felt ready and he wanted to. He saw his team was down 3-1, and he wanted to help them out as best as he could. And he just happened to make an injury worse. And it was terrible how those Raptors fans were just booing him. That's just terrible. I don't care what you're a fan of. No team, no fans should ever root for an injured player, no matter what the team is. Like I'm a diehard Ravens fan, but if somebody on the Steelers, if somebody on the Steelers got hurt and was like out for the season, I'm not gonna root. I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, that's good. Like he was a key player. I'm gonna be like, no, like that's sad. Evan Ryan Shazier got hurt. That was tragic, because that was a serious injury and he might never play again. And he was a good player too. So yeah, I just thought that was messed up, and also that Kevin Durant injury changes like all of free agency. Speaking of, Kyrie Irving opts out of his player option and has parted ways with his agent. And the Lakers have, not the Lakers, the Pelicans have begun trade talks and multiple team trades, and also they even in trade talks with the Lakers and the Pelicans. Yeah, with the Lakers, I forgot who the other team was. And they're also talking about the Lakers made Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and the fourth overall pick available for trade. And they said the Celtics might go after Mike Conley if Kyrie Irving leaves, which might happen. So, yeah. All that being said, let's get into the real basis of this video. This is an NFL unpopular opinions episode. So right here, I've set up 4 unpopular opinions that I thought of for the 2019 season, and which I think could be true. So with that being said, let's get to the first unpopular opinion. Unpopular opinion number 1: Jameis Winston will turn things around in Tampa Bay and make a playoff push. Notice I said playoff push because I still don't think the Buccaneers are going to make the playoffs with teams in the NFC getting better and better. But I think they could. I feel like they could be in contention up until week 16 or 17. Yeah, here's why I say this. Let's look at the stats. Jameis Winston's career stats: 14,628 yards, 88 touchdowns, 58 interceptions, and a QB rating of 87.8 for his whole career. He's had 4 seasons in the NFL, no playoff appearance. He was the first overall pick, and the Buccaneers bought him there to improve the team because they got Mike Evans, who was the top receiver. They just needed a quarterback. They bought Jameis Winston there, but they haven't been able to make a playoff appearance. But they were able to bring Bruce Arians out of retirement to make him the head coach. Arians is good with quarterbacks. If you watch football, you know Bruce Arians is good with quarterbacks. Like, he helped coach Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, and even Carson Palmer. He helped revive his career a little bit in the 5 years he spent in Arizona. And Arians, I also looked at some reports and some articles. Arians said he knows Winston's weaknesses, and he stated that his weaknesses is his decision making and his mechanics. And the Buccaneers, honestly, they have some of the talent to at least be in playoff contention. They got good receivers and Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, even OJ Howard and Cameron Brate. Honestly, Cameron Brate was a good tight end. Yeah, Cameron Brate's a pretty serviceable tight end. And they did trade Deshaun Jackson away because he was discontent with, or I don't know if that's right, or he wasn't satisfied with his time in Tampa. So, but with that trade, they got rid of a deep threat. But I believe they still have one in Chris Godwin, and they also lost Adam Humphries to the Titans in free agency. Now, another thing is, when I told my brother about this, he pointed out that, the Buccaneers. He's like, no, the Buccaneers aren't that good because they don't really have a good O-line, or their defense isn't that good, especially like their defense isn't that great. Honestly, with Arians coaching and the weapons he has, I believe Winston could be like a Russell Wilson or a Deshaun Watson type-esque player. I'm not saying he's going to live up to the same hype as them, or he's going to be on the same level as them. I'm saying, like, with like both of those teams, Seattle and Houston have great quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson both make great plays, but they don't have that great of an O-line. So how do they make these plays? They make plays with their feet. They're both mobile quarterbacks who can move on a run and make plays with their feet. And we've seen Jameis make a couple plays on his feet. So I believe Winston can make some plays on his feet, extend the play, dump it off, or throw it down to Mike Evans or Chris Godwin or one of their receivers with not that great of an O-line. Now, those are the negative. Negative was the O-line. Another negative was the defense, because Tampa Bay's defense wasn't that great. I believe they were 26 in total defense. I know that their total defense, they were in the 20s last year. I don't know the exact ranking. But also this offseason, they cut Gerald McCoy, and they lost Kawan Alexander to the 49ers. To replace McCoy, they signed Ndamukong Suh, who, honestly, I would take. I mean, they're both great players, but I would take McCoy over Ndamukong Suh any day. But at the same time, I get why they got rid of Gerald McCoy because of his contract situation, and they're able to bring in Ndamukong Suh, who puts up pretty good numbers. They were able to bring him in on a cheaper deal. They signed Shaquille Barrett to upgrade their linebacking position, and also after losing Kawan Alexander, they drafted Devin White. They drafted Devin White 5th overall from LSU. But another thing, Tampa Bay has been weak as their secondary. Their secondary is weak. It's honestly one of the worst secondaries I've seen in the last couple years. Their best corner last year was the aging Brent Grimes, and they drafted Vernon Hargreaves a couple years ago, but he's not living up to the expectations that people had set for him. And now they drafted Sean Bunting, and I know they drafted another corner. But I think if they got Sean Bunting, he could easily take that starting role from Vernon Hargreaves, and they don't really have any safeties. So if Tampa Bay, so that's my analysis on it. If Tampa Bay, but honestly, with Arians coaching and Todd Bowles coaching the defense, I believe, especially with some of the new players they brought in on defense, like people even said they already said Devin White is starting to be a leader on that defense. So with that being said, I believe Tampa Bay can make a playoff push. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but give them a year or two, get their secondary right, so their O line, maybe draft another weapon. They could be good. All right. Unpopular opinion number 2. This is about Josh Rosen. This one. All right. So the second unpopular opinion: Josh Rosen will be a good system QB in Miami, like Jared Goff is in Los Angeles. Now, if we look, let's start off with the stats. Rosen, his rookie year, 2,278 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. Now, if you're somebody who just look at stats and only stats, you're just like, oh, stats aren't that that wasn't that good. But at the same time, you're looking like, oh, Rosen's trash, like those are terrible stats. But if at the same time, look at Sam Darnold and Josh Allen stats, they both have similar stats. They both have around 2,000 yards, double digit interceptions, less than 20 touchdowns. So Rosen isn't that bad. But another thing that, and plus QB is like the most inflated position in football by stats. Like, yeah, a quarterback can have like when Blake Bortles, like say Blake Bortles threw for 4,000 yards, that could be great. But at the same time, like he could have just got those yards just from like screens and dumping off plays, throwing dump offs that the receiver could have taken like 20, 30 yards to the house. So that's another reason why I don't only look at stats. But also, if you look at the Cardinals last year, they didn't have the best supporting cast. I mean, their best receiver was a old Larry Fitzgerald, and I'm not hating on Larry Fitzgerald. He's honestly one of the most likable players, one of the greatest like characters of all time. He was a great player. It's just he's getting up there in age and he's declining. Like in his last couple years, he's starting to decline, and they just they didn't really have that many good receivers. And they also had a terrible O line. They allowed 52 sacks last year. It was all terrible. So, and then the coaching staff wasn't that great. Like some of the coaching decisions weren't good. I mean, their offensive coordinator was fired like in the middle of the season. So that's how he didn't have that great of a supporting cast. But a change of scenery could help out. Where he got traded to the Dolphins on draft night, and you can say that he has a much better supporting cast. He has you got Kenny Stills and Devontae Parker on the outside. Now Parker hasn't really been lived up to the expectations, but he's still a good receiver from Miami. He still had his fair share in plays. And you got Albert Wilson in the slot along with Jakeem Grant. Those two are pretty fast. Jakeem Grant is a speedster, and Albert Wilson has some speed too. So you got those are two deep threat weapons. Then you got Mike Gesicki, who's a good tight end. I like watching him play in Penn State. I thought he was a great tight end. So I feel he could be. I feel like his rookie year wasn't that great, but Mike Gesicki could definitely emerge as a I don't want to say top, but he could be a good tight end. Like he could be like a 700 to 800 yard tight end every year. And then you got Kenyon Drake, who's emerging as a good running back, and he has a better O line with Laramie Tunsil and with Laramie Tunsil leading them. So yeah, you can obviously tell he has a better supporting cast, and the defense is better too, and coaching staff is a little better. Also, another thing I liked about Rosen was when he got traded, he handled that in a mature manner. Like, I'm sorry, but if that was me, like if I was a first round quarterback, matter of fact, a top 10 quarterback, and the team gives up on you after 1 year, I would be mad. But Rosen handled that in a mature manner. He made a video on Instagram where he thanked the Cardinals and the fans. He praised Kyler Murray, and he also wished the Cardinals luck on the next luck this upcoming season. in that video. And even at the end, he was like, oh, and I get he might have been joking, but like still, he was like, hey, Kyler Murray. Also, I just found out there's like an apartment, 2 bedroom, da da da, like type apartment that just became available in Arizona. Basically saying like, hey man, since I got traded, there's a new room, like there's a new house here for you in Arizona. Like he handled that in mature manner. Like you saw how Antonio Brown handled his. Antonio Brown didn't show up to the last game of the season and was like, I want you to trade me now. I don't like Big Ben. I don't like this team. Like, get me off this roster. Antonio Brown got traded, and he like literally like a week later he's still talking about how Juju won team MVP. Like I'm just saying, from a young guy, for him to handle that in a mature manner, that was impressive. So Miami got a good guy in Rosen. And also, since I said be a system quarterback like Goff, let's just look at Jared Goff. His rookie year, drop my pen. His Goff's rookie year, his head coach was Jeff Fisher. He didn't start all the games. He started like the last couple games, but still, he went. The Rams finished 4-12, and Goff's stats in those games were 1,089 yards, 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and he was underused. And because I was watching Hard Knocks, Jeff Fisher was like, "Listen, just because you're the number one overall pick, doesn't mean you're gonna automatically start." I get that, but like I get what he's trying to prove. But like, what? Who else was your other option? Like, I think wasn't Case Keenum like the backup or something. Like basically, you had no other options, and you wait to use him. So he was underused. Then Golf's sophomore season, Sean McVay. Yeah, they got Fisher out there. Sean McVay's the new coach. He's like, all right, we're gonna do stuff this way. McVay leads them to an 11-5 record. Goff has 3,804 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. He had the best offense in the NFL, and they improved. Goff improved, some of his mechanics and stuff. And Goff's third year, pretty much the same thing. They won the NFC East, or not NFC East, the NFC West. Oof. And they made a Super Bowl appearance. So yeah, I mean wasn't that great of a Super Bowl, but hey, or if you like old school Super Bowls, then yeah, you might have thought it was great. But you get what I'm trying to say. So that's my thoughts on. I feel like Rosen is going to be in that category. He's going to be a system quarterback, and also he's going to have some pressure. He has to live up to the expectations because Miami traded I believe a second round draft pick for Rosen, and Rosen's like, so if you're Rosen, you look at this, you're like, all right, rookie year didn't go great with Arizona, and I already got traded within my first 2 years. So and Miami they're looking for a franchise quarterback. That's what Miami got you for. So you have to live up to them expectations. And if you have another down year, it's going to be another thing that gives him pressure is this upcoming draft class. Because this 2020 draft class is loaded with quarterbacks. You got Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa, Jake Fromm, like the list goes on. And then you got other quarterbacks that could be in the draft in the 2021 class, but might be in this class. Like I'm pretty sure Trevor Lawrence could be in this class. Even Justin Fields. Like he's got a lot of big name quarterbacks in this class. And then also when he was drafted, Rosen said there were non-mistakes taken ahead of him in the draft. So if I'm Rosen and you're down in Miami and I'm down in Miami, you're like, all right. I'm like, all right. There's pressure on me. I have to be the franchise quarterback. So you have to live up to them expectations. But I believe with the change of scenery and a better coaching staff, even you got a first year head coach in Brian Flores, Miami is going to make Josh Rosen a great system quarterback. All right, my third unpopular opinion has to do with my Ravens. Now, I believe Lamar Jackson will have a good passing year. I believe his stats will be 3,000 plus passing yards and 20 plus interceptions. Now, let's look at his stats. Again, let's start off with the stats. 1,201 passing yards, 6 passing touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. All right, and then if we compare those to Vic's rookie year, because they played about the same amount of games, I believe Jackson or one of them played one more game than the other. But Vic's rookie year stats: 785 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in 8 games. Now, the narrative on Lamar Jackson is, oh, he's a running back, he's a running quarterback, he can't throw, he's inaccurate, and all that. That that's not. I don't believe that's true. I mean, yeah, he is. I mean, his running was. He did. The Ravens used him as a runner more last year, but the Ravens are starting to they're starting to work on his mechanics. Lamar Jackson, he can make some good throws. He is a little inaccurate on a deep ball, but that's all stuff. That's stuff you can work on. Now, this the Ravens just drafted Marquise Brown and Miles Boykin from Marquise Brown from Oklahoma and Miles Boykin from Notre Dame, two wide receivers, two great wide receivers, and then they also got Ben Powers, who's a guard from Oklahoma, so that upgrades the O line a little. And Brown is a speedster. He can extend the routes. If Lamar Jackson is being pressured and he's rolling out the pocket to try to extend the play, Brown can extend his route. Like if Brown has a curl, like say Brown has a curl and then Jackson's getting pressured, like Brown could run the curl and then maybe like do it and then maybe cut that into an in route or a slant or something like that, because he has the speed. Honestly, you could even do screen passes. Just Brown is that receiver who can run around the field and stretch the field. So and that's what the Ravens needed. That's what Lamar needed. So that was a good pick. Ravens also hired David Culley, who is the Chiefs' assistant and wide receivers coach, and he's been working with Lamar. So I am excited for that because we saw how Patrick Mahomes was last year. I'm not saying he's going to be as great as Patrick Mahomes was last year, but I'm just saying we saw what he was able to do last year in Kansas City with Mahomes. So I'm excited to see what he can do with Lamar this year in Baltimore. Also, the two best receivers from the Ravens last year was rookie tight end Mark Andrews and Willie Snead. Willie Snead is a good receiver. He's a nice possession receiver. Can make those catches, make some catches in traffic. And then Mark Andrews is a good tight end. So I think Mark Andrews has potential to be a good tight end again. Maybe he could be great, but I don't know. Like my father said he was like the next Travis Kelce or something. I was like, no, that's a little too far from what I could see, but maybe he's right. But maybe he could be. I think Mark Andrews' ceiling is like a 700 to 800 yard tight end, like yards a year. And the team is starting to trust Lamar to throw. They're like at the end of the year, you can see they started to pass the ball more. They're starting to trust him to throw more, and he's been working with his receivers. And yeah, and Lamar has also worked and improved on his throwing mechanics this year, because he said last year he was being lazy with his mechanics, but now he's working on them. He has improved. So yeah, I am excited for that. That's what I think. I honestly think the Ravens still gonna win the division because I feel like Cleveland's overhyped, but that's just my opinion. But I believe if the Ravens do win the division, it's gonna be because Lamar. It's gonna be because of Lamar and that offense or the whole team. But Lamar is gonna have improved significantly. All right, my fourth and final unpopular opinion is the 49ers will be the zero to hero team and make the playoffs. They will be the Chicago Bears of 2019. Now, this is all right. This is why I say this. A lot of people had the 49ers being a possible playoff team last year before Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt. And now, they only won 5 games last year. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they only won like 5 games last year. Kyle Shanahan is a young coach with potential, and he wanted to add offensive playmakers this offseason. He hired Wes Welker to be the receivers coach, and he's been working with some of the rookies they got, or with the receivers, and also a second round pick Deebo Samuel. Excuse me. Shanahan, and we saw how Shanahan's offense was in Atlanta that year they went to the Super Bowl. So he has potential. That's why I said that, and he wants to add playmakers. He did that. He's done that this offseason. And honestly, he has playmakers on the offense. He has a nice offense to work with. You got Jimmy Garoppolo, um, Jarek McKinnon, who's a nice receiving back, even though he got injured last year. If he comes back this year, he'll be a nice receiving back. Got Matt Breida, who proved to be a good running back last year, like 900 yards, I'm pretty sure. Marquise Goodwin, he's improved since he's got into the league. He's done nothing but improve every year. He's a speedster. Another speedster, Dante Pettis, who could be a good slot receiver. Then they got Trent Taylor, who has some potential, and they got the best tight end in football. Yes, I said the best tight end in football with George Kittle. He is the best tight end in football. And that's what I believe. Also, they had a pretty good draft, man. They got in the first 3 rounds, they got Nick Bosa second overall, Debo Samuel in the second round, and Jalen Hurd in the third round. So if you saw my draft sleeper video, you would have saw that Jalen Hurd was one of my draft sleepers, and yeah, he's pretty good. They got some versatility with him. I think the thing with Jalen Hurd was that he was only that in tennis. No, in Baylor, he ran out of the slot. In Tennessee and Baylor, as a receiver, he ran in the slot more, and he's like 6'4". He's like not 6. He's like 6'3" now, I think. So he's tall, and I feel if 49ers want to use him, they could use him in the slot, but he's going to have to learn how to play outside. That was kind of the knock on him. But Debo Samuels, he's a good receiver. I think the only thing holding him back was injuries. And they got Nick Bosa, who some people say was the best pass rusher in this draft. I think Josh Allen was, but Nick Bosa is definitely a top pass rushing talent. And that was smart for them to pick them up because they knew Kyler Murray was going #1 overall. So that was smart for them to get him. Even if they didn't, they still could have got Josh Allen. Now, also with that Nick Bosa pick, they already have some defensive potential. They have Fred Warner, who had 124 tackles last year. Monster, and DeForest Buckner, who's improved. He's improved every year and has had 12 sacks last year. And they also got Solomon Thomas, who I believe they made him tradable. He's available for trade because he's not meeting expectations, hence the Nick Bosa pick. But Solomon Thomas, he has some potential, but I feel that they might trade him or they might get rid of him once his contract is up. He's not living up to the 3rd overall pick expectations. Now, let's go over some of the offseason players they signed. They signed Kwan Alexander, who's a good linebacker. You know, he is coming back from an Achilles injury. I think it was Achilles, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, he's a good linebacker. Just we don't know how he's going to play after his injury, but the 49ers believe that he'll play to the talent that he was playing to a year ago. Tevin Coleman, I don't know why they got 3 running backs, but he said they wanted offensive playmakers. Tevin Coleman is a good receiving back. He was a good number 2 back in Atlanta, and also, he's great in Atlanta. I won't say great. He was good in Atlanta, and that gives them a lot of leeway with Breida, McKinnon, and Coleman. I also picked up Jordan Matthews, who's still a serviceable receiver. So that gives them leeway with all the receivers they have. And he picked up Jason Verrett on a 1-year deal because they needed corners. And they also acquired D Ford in a trade. Now, I like that. I like this trade a lot. Now, Ford upgrades the pass rush, and that gives them a nice defensive front with D Ford, DeForest Buckner, and Nick Bosa. Then they got Tevin Coleman, who adds more speed to the offense, and that also gives them a triple 3-headed monster at running back to their fast offense. And he also has chemistry with Coach Kyle Shanahan from Atlanta. Then they got Jason Verrett, who's still a serviceable corner, or he was a good corner in what's the name, in San Diego, which is now Los Angeles. But they were smart to bring in they brought him in on a 1-year deal because he's been held back by injuries. Now, a negative about this team is they still need some other linebackers because Kawan Alexander is like the only noticeable linebacker that's good. Him and Fred Warner. But they need some outside linebackers. I know you're saying D Ford's outside linebacker, but they're gonna put him at the end. He's an edge rusher. And another thing is injuries. Like they just been hit with injuries. Like these are some noticeable injuries. Like Jimmy Garoppolo coming back from his injury. Same with Jared McKinnon from his knee injury. But then now Mike McGlinchey has a knee injury. Deebo Samuel had something with his hip. Matt Breida is it's his pectoral. Jalen Hurd is hurting, his knee is injured, and their first pick, Nick Bosa with a hamstring injury, and Quan Alexander has a knee injury, and there's still like plenty of other injuries, but yeah, they're just getting hit with injuries left and right. But if these aren't serious injuries and they're all healthy by the time the week 1 rolls around, then they'll be good. Now, my prediction for the 49ers is that they will get a wild card spot and that they'll be a 9-7 team. They'll be finish second in the NFC West behind the Rams. So that's why I believe the 49ers will be a 0-0 team. All right, that is it for this episode of Sports News with Kyle Alexander. I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And my next video will be my NBA awards predictions. So I will talk to you guys next time.